One of my favorite type of leaves to paint is the purple oxalis. I've painted it lots of times and I'm excited to share my technique with you. I'm starting this off with a sketch and just doing a simple outline of these leaves. I like their triangular shape and the fact that they remind me a bit of butterflies. There's a lot of movement in these leaves. And in fact, they move throughout the day, opening and closing the leaves. So here I'm just taking off the excess graphite with the kneaded eraser, and we're going to start painting. And I'm painting on a dry page with my purple paint. And I'm just starting with that first purple. And I'm going to paint just half of each of these leaves. The oxalis has 3 leaves that are connected in the center, and each of them is sort of a folded triangle. I'm dropping in some of that red we mixed and mixing it a bit on the page with my brush. Next, I'll drop in some of that blue to create the purple, a darker purple, and to give a hint of shadow and darkness in that center part of the leaf. And I'm brushing the paint towards the center. Now I'm moving on to the next leaf, and again, just painting half. And I don't want the wet parts to touch. They're touching a slight bit in the center, just a tiny bit, and they're not going to bleed too much, so I'm not too worried about that. Again, adding the blue, a bit of red, and just pushing that paint towards the center, keeping the darkest part in the center. Then on to the third leaf, just half of it again, painting in the purple. Covering the whole shape of that half. Adding some red, mixing it around on the page, making it even. Alright, now that it's dried, we're going to go on and paint the other halves. In the same way I painted the first half. And I want the 2 halves to touch in the middle. And I want a sense of that folded shadow in the center. Keeping the dark part in that fold. Adding a little more paint, making it darker. And I'm just going to do the same for each of the other leaves. The same technique, the wet paint on dry paper, and using my 3 colors, the purple, the red, and the blue. You can see the ones that have already dried, it's slightly lighter than the wet paint, and you can still see areas of darkness, areas of lightness. It didn't spread and mix entirely, which is what I was after. Turning my page and going on to the last leaf and painting in. For this one, I'm just going to do 1 coat of paint on each of these leaves. I'm liking the way it's looking, but I often use more than 1 layer, make things darker to have more of a contrast between the dark areas and the light areas. It's up to you how you like the way your painting looks when it's dried. I think it looks good. Now I'm going to do the stem. And oxalis stems are almost transparent. They're a light color, lighter than the leaves. I'm just using a fine brush and painting a very diluted purple paint on the page. Just a fine curve of that stem and very pale. I'm going to add a bit of darkness to that top and a bit of definition along the edge. Again, I want it to be very pale. At that very top, I want a sense of the shadow, so I'm adding some blue. It's very diluted, and it's going to mix with that purple and just have a hint of shadow. Just working the water on the page. Adding layers of diluted paint, making the top the most concentrated, shadowed by the leaves. Okay, and here is the finished dried painting. We're leaving triangles behind and painting in a circle for the next leaf. See you there.